911, what's your emergency? The 911 operator asked. A bunch of people suggested to call 911, so I borrowed a phone from the kitchen to call the number. Woman. Basement, I managed to spit out, though it took a bit more effort to pronounce the word basement. There's a woman in the basement? The operator asked. Yes, I replied. Can you tell me your location? 1, 2, 3. Appleberry Street. Okay, I'm sending the police right now. Is she injured? Dead, I responded. The uncle was taking the twins to school, so nobody was home when I called 911. The woman is dead, the operator asked. Yes, I answered. I'm going to need you to stay on the line with me. Do you know who the killer is? The operator questioned. No. I knew for a fact that the uncle did it, but I had no proof. I needed to find some proof that the uncle did it. When did you find the body? The operator said. Yes, today, I replied. The operator must have thought that I was an idiot if it took me that long to respond to her questions. How long was the body there for? The operator asked. I don't know, I answered. I knew nothing about the woman other than that she was in a ton of photographs. Do you know who she is? The operator asked. I didn't know anything about her other than I seen her in a few photographs. Lady in pictures, I replied. I didn't know if that was going to help much, but that was the only information I had about her. You've seen her in pictures? The operator asked, confused. Yes, I replied. Can you tell me more about the lady in the pictures? The operator asked. No, don't know, I answered. You don't know anything about the lady in the pictures? The operator questioned. I don't, I responded. We talked for a few more minutes until the police arrived. The uncle arrived about a minute later, only to see the police knocking on his door. The uncle nervously opened the door and the police started searching the house. One officer went down to the basement and showed the other officers. The other officers went back upstairs and arrested the uncle. An officer went upstairs to search the rooms, and I followed him in my shadow form. The police officer entered the guest bedroom where the twins were staying. I watched as he searched the room, putting things in plastic bags. One of those things was the picture of the lady. The police officer opened a drawer and pulled out a drawing of me. There were a few things missing in the picture, but it was clear that it was supposed to be a picture of me. He looked at the picture, confused, before putting it in a plastic bag and going downstairs. I followed the officer downstairs and slipped into one of the police cars. The officer entered the car and started driving it. The car ride was painfully silent. I sat in the back seat in my shadow form while the officer drove. The officer drove to the school and exited the vehicle. Another car arrived and a woman exited the car. They both entered the school with me in tow. I saw them say something to the front office, and the front desk called Addison and Andrew to the front. I watched as the officer and the woman told Addison and Andrew what happened. Addison looked shocked and scared, while Andrew started getting a bit frustrated. The woman led the twins outside, with me following them. I snuck in the car with the twins and watched the woman get in the front seat. The woman led the twins outside, with me following them. I sat in the car with the twins and watched the woman get in the front seat. The car ride was filled with an awkward silence for a few minutes, before Andrew broke the silence. "Why is everyone dying around us?" Andrew asked, confused and scared. "First my friends went missing. Then our dad goes missing. After that, 2 kids went missing from school. Now our uncle murdered someone. All of that happened in about a week or so. This can't be a coincidence." "I know this is very scary and weird, but I promise the police is working on solving all the disappearances," the woman replied. "I'm sure that it has nothing to do with you two." "This is starting to feel more like Death Town," Addison muttered under her breath. The rest of the car ride went back to that familiar, awkward silence. Addison looked out the window while Andrew tried to do his homework. About 10 minutes went by before the woman parked the car in a parking lot. It took me a few seconds before I realized that it was the exact building the twins were at before going to the uncle's house. The woman opened the door, letting the twins out. The twins exited the car before going inside the building with me in tow. The woman led the twins to a room with a table and a few chairs. She told them to sit down at the table. She asked them a few questions, like if the uncle ever hurt them physically, if he ever showed some weird behavior, and a few other questions. After about 10 minutes or so, the officer found the picture of me entering the room. After about 10 minutes or so, the officer who found that picture of me entered the room, holding the drawing. He put the picture in front of them and started to ask the twins a ton of questions about it. I can see why the police would think that the picture of me was strange and disturbing, since kids don't normally draw things as creepy as that. "Who's that supposed to be?" the officer asked. "It's just from a nightmare," Addison answered. "What was the nightmare about?" the woman asked. "Just about being chased in the woods," Addison replied. I could tell that she didn't want to talk about it. At first, the twins didn't want to answer any of the other questions the officer and the woman asked, but after a few minutes of them asking questions, they cracked. "That's the monster we see outside, in the woods, every now and then," Andrew finally responded.